American pilots feeling good about shooting down Iraqi jets as Secretary Baker sounds a warning.
The military actions now underway necessarily involve many casualties, great hardships, and growing fears for the future. So tough times lie ahead.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, America at war.
Good evening. The other day, the American commander of Operation Desert Storm warned Saddam Hussein the best is yet to come, he said. Well, today, a translation from Secretary of State James Baker for the American people. The worst is yet to come. NBC's Andrea Mitchell on Capitol Hill, where Secretary Baker spelled out his warnings to Congress today. Andrea?
Tom, Secretary Baker's warning about the sacrifices of war was grim. But after congressional criticism that the administration has not looked ahead, for the first time, Baker also outlined his vision of a post-war Middle East. Baker suggested that both Iran and Iraq should have a role in post-war arrangements to keep the peace.
No regional state should be excluded from these arrangements. Post-war Iraq could have an important contribution to play, and so could Iran as a major power in the Gulf.
He raised the possibility that a permanent ground force, perhaps under United Nations control, might be needed after the war. He called for regional arms control and said there may be opportunities to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but...
Let's not fool ourselves, though. The course of this crisis has stirred emotions among Israelis and Palestinians that will not yield easily to conciliation.
The committee applauded his ideas, but complained bitterly that the Allies are not doing enough to pay for the war.
How about the details on burden sharing, Mr. Secretary? Why is that a problem? Why do we just get, literally, as some members complain, get stonewalled?
Well, I don't think it is a problem.
Japan finds it much easier to find money to buy up America from MCA to Rockefeller Center than to begin to pay its appropriate share of the cost.
Those pledges are now beginning to be paid. I think that that's a remarkable degree of participation by our coalition partners.
But after Baker smoothed troubled waters, Pentagon officials briefed Congress on the war's progress amidst growing opposition to a ground war.
I would hope that we do not proceed to ground action, and I hope it doesn't become necessary.
The opposition to a ground war is beginning to cost the administration political support just when it's going to need it most. Tom?
Thank you, Andrea. And as the air war continued today, with more dramatic Allied kills, the preparations for that ground war picked up pace as well. We have NBC's Arthur Kent in Saudi Arabia tonight, Fred Francis at the Pentagon. Arthur, let's begin with you and what you're learning about the prospects for a ground war.
Tom, no clear sign yet when a ground war will be, but today we had a glimpse of what it will be. Massive.
It is the largest movement of British armor since World War II, a rehearsal for the ground war to come. Together with U.S. Marines, 20,000 British troops practice in advance against Iraqi positions in Kuwait.
The fact that they cannot attack us from the air means that we can tighten right up, which makes our administration much easier and our command and control.
Elsewhere in the desert, U.S. Apache helicopters prepare for their part in the ground war, test-firing Hellfire-guided missiles. But the real test, the Apache's night-fighting capability.
In the Apache, it's the darkness is gone for you in your right eye. You can see just as well as you can see right here tonight.
I'm going to be real glad to be American instead of Iraqi.
Skimming the desert floor, a missile is fired and hits the practice target. But for these U.S. pilots today, the targets were real. They pitted their F-15s against Iraqi warplanes fleeing to Iran.
One guy was pulling up, just slow rolling right, slow roll. Fire. His whole tail was gone. Flames coming out of the bottom of the jet.
Two Sukhoi 25 ground attack aircraft were shot down. Two MiGs are listed as presumed down.
Good to be back on the ground. Feel good, though.
You, sir?
I feel great.
For these Marine F-A-18s, bad weather interrupted their attacks on Iraqi Republican Guard units. But cockpit camera tape from previous sorties reveals the pilots are scoring hits.
And important for U.S. and Allied war planners, the Iraqis are not scoring back. No Allied warplanes shot down today. It was quiet on the ground. So another day chipping away at Saddam Hussein's ability to hold on to Kuwait. Tom?
Thank you, Arthur Kent in Saudi Arabia.